It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Check out our website, thericksmithshow.com. Here in Erie, Pennsylvania, I'm sitting here with Carl Rosen. Carl is the president of UE, United Electrical. We are in the UE 506 Union Hall as the web tech workers are on strike. As you may remember, we had Carl on the program the night that these workers went on strike. Laid a little basis. Thought it'd be interesting to get him back and see where we are. Carl, thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks for having me here, and thanks for keeping this story out there in front of folks so people know what's going on.
No, this is really important. I mean, the largest industrial strike going on in the country right now. For the time being, I guess the machinists are looking at going on strike here soon. How are things going?
Going very well. The strike is 100% solid. This local is a well-oiled machine. They're making sure people are fed, and all the supplies that are needed on the picket line are there. They're getting tremendous community support. Lots of other unions and other organizations showing up in solidarity. It's a textbook example of how to prepare for and run an effective strike. This plant is effectively shut down. A company might be having some management personnel and others trying to move some things around, et cetera, in there. Actually,
screw some things up.
The reports we're getting is they've done some damage to some heavy equipment in there already.
Never surprising.
Right.
And it's amazing how when management does that, they're so grateful to see you come back. But here we are in this moment again, and nobody does a strike like you guys do. I got to be honest with you. Some of your members, some of the most militant members that I've ever met. But this shouldn't have to happen, Carl. I mean, this shouldn't be happening.
It absolutely shouldn't, and this management is it's real malfeasance on their part to not recognize that things have shifted a little bit. This isn't the 1980s anymore. Workers realize that they've got some power and they're exercising it, and management, which has had most of the power up to now, has to recognize they got to bend a little bit, and it'll be for the good of the company. I mean, half the issues that are on the table right now are actually things where it would be to the company's benefit to make the changes. That would help them manage the plant better, even on some of these things. And it's just it's pigheadedness on their side, because we want to do it our way because it's our way.
Yeah, we've got some bean counter or somebody who just came out of college who thinks they know how to do it. They've done it on paper. Works on paper.
Yeah, no, it's shameful, and even increasing the pay that, especially for like the younger workers that are being brought in, that they're paying abysmally low wages and making it take a long time to get up to full rate. That's not in the long-term benefit of the company. They're not going to have a stable workforce. They're not going to have a skilled workforce. They're not going to be able to do what this plant has always done, which is to produce the best locomotives in the world.
And the other part of this, the thing, I know why companies wanted the two-tier wage system. They wanted to slow down the progression of wages, but they also wanted to cause division in the workplace. That doesn't work for them very well anymore.
No. In fact, the support for the senior workers who have what's called the legacy rate is extremely solid to bring up the wages of those who've been hired in at lower starting rates. They don't want to be working side by side with somebody who's not getting paid a fair wage, and so it's one of the strongest issues out there that we see when we're talking to the members, when we're surveying the members. They all want to see that progression improved greatly.
Now, this is a very company, right? I mean,
I've
looked at the number. They're really profitable.
Extremely profitable, and increasing profits and beating expectations out of this plant in particular. They were crowing about 5 quarters in a row. They beat expectations for this plant. And, I don't think they're going to this quarter.
No, but this is the thing that gets me, Carl. And I've seen this in place after place. It's the same thing. We went through Iowa, when places were on strike there. Ingredion was on strike. Case New Holland was on strike. And it's the same story. Our workers are the best. Thank you for the hard work that you do. Thank you for making us the best plant in our entire systems. But no, we're not going to respect you with decent wages. No, we're not going to respect you with health care that's going to protect your family. It seems so short-sighted. Maybe am I missing something?
Not at all. But this is what happens when greed and short-term profits get in the way of actually running a quality enterprise.
But that profit thing, I mean, if these places were humming along, and as you said, making huge profits for them. Why would you stick a fly in the ointment there? Why would you stop that golden goose? I'm struggling with it.
Yeah, well, look, it's a lot of it has to do with power, and they want to feel they've got all the power. They want to have the monopoly on the power and be able to tell people, do this, do that, jump, because I said to jump. And when workers start, to challenge that to some extent, they feel they got to stomp on them.
Is that what it is?
It's certainly no small part of it. Absolutely. The question of control of the workplace floor and how people are going to be treated on an everyday basis is absolutely a key part. I mean, that's part of why these workers are on a big part, because management was allowed to be such jerks to them on things they didn't need to.
Yeah.
But just because they could get away with it and they wanted to show who was boss.
Yeah, I had someone not too long ago tell me that a lot of the organizing that's happening now is not necessarily even about wages. It's about treatment.
Right.
It's about working conditions. It's about how people are being treated and disrespected. So am I surprised that this is an issue? Not really.
No, that's right. And it's absolutely true here. It's being said at union meetings, et cetera. Wages are not the number one issue here, other than to the extent the progression, which is really a fair treatment issue, right? It's because it's creating those divisions and treating some people less than others. But the overall wage rates, I mean, yes, people want to keep up with inflation, et cetera, but it's not about getting huge wage increases. It's about how they're being treated. It's about making sure that there's going to be stability there going into the future, including, we've challenged the company to make a commitment that the locomotives of the future are going to be built, and they're going to be built here, and work with us on that. Crickets, we got nothing back from them on that. We put those proposals in front of them multiple times. Not a single thing are they interested in making any commitments around. Instead, they make threats that they're going to lay people off and not have jobs going forward. It's just, ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I think of the UAW and the auto industry back in the 60s. Had the auto industry listened to the UAW and started building smaller cars and more fuel-efficient cars back in the 70s and in the 80s, they probably wouldn't have been in any of the problems that they're in now. Mm-hmm. And I see the same thing here. I mean, you're advocating for the future. They're sticking in the past.
Right, or at least not making the moves that could be made to really get positioned going forward, including with having a skilled workforce here ready and able to build those. And that means investing in the workers and not hiring people off the street at wages that aren't much better than you can get at a McDonald's at this point.
That's the part that's amazing to me. We talked to a couple of other folks who are doing jobs that are fairly dangerous for $15-16 an hour, and you go, how do you support a family on that? How do you put yourself in danger for that, let alone support a family? To me, the wages kind of are a sign of respect, a sign of dignity, and I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you want to have a stable workforce or not? That's really the question at the end of the day.
So are there any ongoing negotiations? You guys, they've been on strike for what now?
A week and a day. A week and 2 days. So this coming Thursday, the July 6th, there is a meeting scheduled between the two parties with the mediator. We will be there ready to bargain, and we've been ready to bargain literally in the phone call that UE Local 506 President Scott Slauson made to company HR person to inform her that the membership had voted to strike and not to accept the offer that the company had on the table. He said, we're going out, but we're ready to meet and bargain at any time. And it's taken them 2 full weeks to agree to come to a meeting. We don't know if they're going to come prepared to bargain or not. If they are, we can try and get a contract done. If they aren't, the fight's going to continue on until they come to their senses.
Yeah. As I've been saying here on the program, I look at Washington. We've got a president who's the most pro-union in my lifetime. Has there been any outreach to the administration to maybe, put a little pressure, get some messaging this way, involved at all?
So we've certainly outreached in various directions to various elected officials, and we'll let them speak for themselves in terms of what they want to say. We are happy that we've had good, strong statements of support coming out of both the state and federal elected official levels, and we expect to see more of that.
No, because this is one of these situations where if you're going to be moving forward to the new economy, let's say, you're moving to that clean green stuff that they keep pushing on us and saying that this is the future, it's got to come with jobs that are worth having.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not just for individuals, but for the community. I look at this plant and the 1,400 workers here as integral to this community. And some of the people we've talked to said this is the heart and soul of this community.
That's right. Look, this is one of the best generators of community solidness for Erie. I mean, these are good living wage jobs, ones that people can have for a lifetime and that they can raise a family on. And that's the kind of thing that makes a community hold together. And we need to see more of that, not less. And look, there is a lot of federal money out there around infrastructure, around things for making a cleaner environment, et cetera. Some of that is going to flow in one way or another into the rail industry. And we absolutely want the federal government to be weighing down hard that ought to go for good living wage jobs, for union jobs at facilities like that. And that, to the extent that companies are refusing to get along with their workers, refusing to treat them fairly, frankly, they should be punished by not being recipients.
No, I'm right there with you. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're here with Carl Rosen. Carl's the president of UE, United Electrical. We'll get links out on social media. You can take a look at their website. Because the reason I bring this up is if this is the model, if the model is we're going to bring batteries in and solar panels and windmills and all the future stuff, and we're going to go into communities that have been been depleted. They're the used to be's that we went through back in October and November. This is kind of a model of maybe how it should be done. As opposed to the low road model that I see happening. So I'm advocating for you guys this direction.
Absolutely. And look, and this is the point of what we call the Green Locomotive Project, which is to get the railroads to have to buy new locomotives and get rid of the old ones that are sitting there polluting terribly this country, contributing to climate change, contributing particularly to diesel pollution all around the rail yards. Most of those rail yards are surrounded by people, working class neighborhoods, lower income, frequently people of color, and those folks are having to breathe those fumes, as are the rail workers who are working in those yards. And all of this could be dealt with. The technology is there to have much cleaner locomotives out there right now, and even cleaner ones coming in the years to come. We believe the federal government and the state government should be forcing the railroads to upgrade to newer locomotives. And we believe that Wabtec should be committing to produce those here at this plant with this workforce and expand this workforce. And we commissioned an economic impact study on that from an institute at the University of Massachusetts. They did a study and showed the thousands of good jobs that could be created doing that over the next couple decades if that investment was made.
And not just the jobs working for the company, but that reverberation downstream.
Absolutely. The parts suppliers, the people that, will be building houses for the workers and supplying them with clothes and food and everything else. Yeah, it creates a lot of jobs, much of which would be in Northeast Pennsylvania, which really needs it. This is a depressed area. You drive around Erie and you see old factory after old factory that's either reduced to rubble or is just barely standing at this point. You'd be really helping this area, but some of them spread out into other industrial areas nearby in Ohio and upstate New York, but also there'll be supplies from across the country. It really is such a sensible thing for our country to do. And the railroads have plenty of money and could afford to start buying the new locomotives, but they're not going to, as we can tell with what we've seen them go through the last couple of years on safety issues, on how they treated their own workers, et cetera. They won't do anything unless they're forced to. Well, that's the role of the federal government, is force them to clean up their act.
What do you say to the person, though, Carl, who goes, how's an electric train going to move all the freight that we need done? How are you going to do this with an electric locomotive?
Well, first of all, they're doing it in Europe right now, so it can be done. But second, we've got all kinds of increased technology now that can make it very doable, including there's battery locomotives now that have been shown to work in tandem with the traditional diesel locomotives. There's much cleaner diesel locomotives that put out something like 85% less pollutants that could be, that have been available for a decade now, and that the railroads, that should have been converting to already. You put those together, and then when you roll into the city, you only use the battery one. And in the rail yards, there's no problem. You could electrify the whole thing, or just use the battery ones entirely and charge them up. I mean, there's no problem on that. There's also in development. Moving over to hydrogen fuel cell locomotives too, which can be clean burning, totally no emissions. So there's lots of possibilities here. It's just a question of the railroads actually saying, "All right, we're going to convert," and they'll have what they need.
Them being encouraged to do it. So
required is, I think, what's going to have to happen.
I'll say you use required. I'll say encouraged, but. Who's making those green locomotives in Europe then? And do we have the capacity here?
So what you have
now?
Yeah, what you have in Europe more is electrified locomotives. So they aren't battery operated. They have the overhead lines.
Oh, okay.
And that's the issue in the U.S. Really big spread out country, mountains, all kinds of things that you'd have to go through. So to electrify all the lines across the country. That can be done, but that's more like a 20, 30-year project, not a 5 to 10-year project.
No, because the reason I ask is because, I know we don't make any like subway cars. Any of the buses we struggle making. There's a bunch of stuff we don't make. You got Chinese companies that have come in and built plants that we're not doing, and I'm like, I don't want to lose this too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean the technology's there, right? And the rest of the world is using a lot of this technology ahead of us. That's right, and there's no reason we can't be doing it in this country. Again, you have to have the market for it. You have the market for it when the big institutions, whether it be public transportation or private railroads or whoever else, when they're required to do this, and you do that through laws and government regulation. And I'm glad to say that the EPA right now has in front of them a rule that would allow the states to have a much higher level of regulation on train emissions, and California is moving on that. The railroads are probably going to go into court to sue to try to stop it. We need to fight back against that. And get this into effect. And what we actually need the EPA to set stronger federal standards. And there's going to be a hearing in the U.S. Senate in one of the subcommittees towards the end of July that's going to go exactly into these issues. And we're glad to see that it's happening, and we're going to be participating in those hearings.
No, that's great. I hope you'll come back and talk to us when that happens. But my fear again is we do all that stuff and the Supreme Court just shoots it all down.
And that's why we need it. We need a people's movement to make sure they can't do that.
So let's bring this back to Erie and what's going on here, and how we move, how we get this done, how we get this over with, because nobody wants to be on strike. Nobody wants to miss a day, let alone a week or 2 weeks. What's it going to take to get this done, and how can we help move in that direction?
Well, to get it done, basically, is for the company to get realistic about their proposals. We have nothing outrageous on the table on the union side, and they've asked us. Local management got nervous that a strike was coming, and they actually came and asked the union local what would it take. Tell us the things that you need in order to settle this. We gave them a list of 8 items, none of which were outrageous, and they looked at it, and they took it up the corporate ladder, and somebody up the corporate ladder said, no, don't give them a single one. And that's why we're on strike. If they could have moved on some of those or most of those, we wouldn't have ended up out there. Once you're on strike, things get a little more momentum. I think workers are going to be expecting more even at this point. They understand their power, and, this company made a grave miscalculation. On the other hand, on your second question about what can people do to help, love to see people come out to the picket lines, drive by, honk. If you want to come and bring water or anything like that, people always appreciate that. And just help keep people going on the picket line and give them relief as needed. And I think that's all good. And statements of solidarity from other unions are always appreciated too. And we've had a good number of unions come out here already. We've got more coming, and it really is greatly appreciated.
Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. I wish you guys the best. One day longer, one day stronger. I'm hoping that this is short, and I hope you get what you need.
Okay, thanks so much, Rick.
Carl, I appreciate the time. Carl Rosen, president of UE, United Electrical. Want to hear your thoughts? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Quick break. Right back. Stick around.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And after years of politicians talking about it, they finally passed a big new infrastructure package to rebuild roads and bridges, fix drinking water systems, and make the energy grid more secure. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
So Elon Musk is making the Twitters crazy again. And look, as I said from the beginning, I believe he bought Twitter specifically to destroy it, and he's doing a great job making me right. Whether that was the idea or not, he's doing a really good job. And he's making Twitter crazy. It's a cesspool now. There's nothing positive that comes out of it, other than crazy right-wing white nationalists and those folks having paid their $8 to get attention. That's what it's been. So what he's done now, and this is interesting, what he's done now is he's put in viewing limits. Originally it was if you had a verified account, that means you were paying him. You could read 6,000 posts a day. You could read your followers' posts, and some people read that many. If you were an unverified account, which I'm never giving him a dime, you could only see 600 posts a day. And if you're a new unverified account, which means you're new to Twitter and you're not paying Elon Musk, you can only look at 300 a day. Well, that made people upset, and it got him a bad name. So he said, no. What we're going to do is we'll soon increase it to 8,000 for verified, 800 for unverified, and 400 for the new unverified, because we're making this big thing. Now, what's interesting is not that his justification is accurate. He said that the reason he was doing it is because, how did it put, the reason I set the view limit is because we are all Twitter addicts and need to go outside. He said, I'm doing a good deed for the world here. Also, that's another view you just used. The reality here is he broke Twitter and doesn't know how to fix it. He fired a bunch of people who have no idea how to deal with the traffic. So have you ever, it's like if someone docks you, you get, all these out of service errors. because you don't have the servers to keep up. They fired all the people who knew where the servers were and knew how to route all this traffic to ensure it doesn't go down. That's why he's doing it. But, oh, no. It's because I care about you and I want you. Get out of here, you moron. And look, somebody will buy it. Somebody will buy it. Just like how he suggested that voting rights should be limited to parents. No longer white land-owning males. No, parents, because they have a stake in the future. That's the argument. They care about their kids, care about the future. Only parents should be allowed to vote. And I guess his other argument, this would encourage people to want to be parents. So let me ask you, if someone with 10 kids, they get 10 votes? Crazy religious people would want that. It's coming next, I guarantee it. It's going to take a quick break. Right back, stick around.
It doesn't matter what kind of weather. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. When Mother Nature's done her worst, the only thing that matters to us is keeping the lights on for you. The hardworking women and men of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, dedicated to keeping the power on in communities all across the country. Because when bad weather strikes, we know what matters most. IBEW, the power professionals.
The best way to strengthen America's economy? How about investing in America's fastest growing industry? Clean energy. It means millions of jobs that pay well and can't be outsourced. And lower utility costs for families. Congress, let's get it done.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At the Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right-left or red-blue, when they are and always have been up-down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people, for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.